What's up, fam? Welcome back to Recap Kickback. Hot D, the Westeros Kickback, where we chop it up about TV, movies, and music while being sure to highlight Black media, but specifically House of the Dragon content. That's right. Season 2, episode 5 is over, but Mari and I are here to talk about it. Maester Mari, what's good?
Yeah, I mean, we are getting closer and closer to endgame here. I'm glad that we got to see some fallout from last week's episode. I'm so glad just to be here chopping it up with you.
Yes, I'm Chappell, and I will be taking us through the most recent episode of Hot D, House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 5, where we get a lot of politicking. We get a lot of pieces moving around after what we saw last week with the loss of one of the fan favorites. And so before we get into the podcast, of course, we have to thank you all for being here, for checking out our Hot D coverage every week, and for sending so much good feedback. And so if you want, of course, to support the podcast, go to recapkickback.com/subscribe and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, or you can tune into us here on YouTube, youtube.com/@recapkickback. For that, it will take you to our YouTube page. You can catch our Recap Kickback Hot D playlist with all our House of the Dragon coverage, but also the other coverage that we've brought to Recap Kickback as well. Recently, we've had the Was It Good Though podcast on to talk about Supercell. We recapped the premiere of Supercell and kind of gave like a little extra background to it in the spoiler section at the end of that podcast. We've also talked about Black Barbie recently with LaTanya and Gia. So we got a lot of Recap Kickback content coming your way, but the only way to make sure you keep up with everything is to subscribe. So please go ahead and do that and keep all that feedback coming. We've been getting a lot of great feedback in the YouTube comments, but also we've been getting messages, DMs, and emails. Mari, we actually got a couple questions for you this week in some of our social media. So let me go ahead and pull that up. I believe this week, of course, the hottest topic in the House of the Dragon streets is the dragons themselves, right? Because last week we saw a big dragon fight. We saw somewhat of a dance, if you will. And so we got a question from Samantha Constantine. She said, I'm loving your podcast. Mari is my new seer. I don't think I've heard you all say this, so apologies in advance if I somehow missed it, but is the reason Daenerys didn't get burned in the bath and the pyre or in the building with the Dash Kaleen because there were man-made fires, because Lena, Rhaenyra, and Aegon appear to have been burned with actual dragon fire, and this would seem to explain the difference. Please let me know if I'm delusional, but this is clicking with me right now. And so my theory, Mari, was that there was some blood magic involved at one time. But like you said before, maybe the Targaryens are also kind of resistant to heat, like in that bath. Can you give a little bit more insight to Samantha for that one?
Yeah, so that's good thinking there for Samantha, because it's true in a sense of, like, you know how they say like Valyrian steel, like it can only be melt and handled using dragon fire. Like there's stuff that dragon fire is just like way hotter than regular fire. However, unfortunately, with Dany and the eggs and the fire and walking through it and the Dash Kaleen, that was all made up for the show. So in the book, Dany has been burned before. She heals from it. So like canon wise, like book canon wise, Targaryens might be a little resistant to fire, but they are not like fully resistant like we've seen Dany in the shows. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, that's great headcanon. Think of it like that, Samantha. Nobody can tell you not to think of it like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't be burned by man-made fires, but they can be burned by dragon fire. That sounds tight to me.
Well, I know there's this one scene early on in Game of Thrones where Jon Snow reaches up and he grabs like this, like a lantern, and it burns his hand. I think it's when he was at the wall, right? And so he can be burnt, but like you said, it's man-made fire as opposed to like dragon fire. Yeah, so I know Jon got burnt before by man-made fire, but I know with the blood magic that they were doing that one time where she walked through basically like a burning building, I thought that might have had something to do with it. But I do like the headcanon. I like like the idea that if the story isn't telling us it's not true, then we can just kind of go with it, because we saw that the story has a lot of holes in it, and that the directors are going with it as well. Did you see where they walked back the conversation about the dragon eggs, Mari?
No, they did. They said those weren't the...
So yeah, so initially, what is it? The directors were saying like, "Oh yeah, those dragons are the same dragons that Daenerys will see in Game of Thrones." But then this week, I believe there have been conflicting reports where I've been like, "Nah, we was tripping. They'll make the same. That don't really make sense." So I think a lot of people are moving in their own headcanon, including the people who are making the show.
Who are making the show, exactly.
Yeah.
And Dragonfire, we do know Dragonfire has special properties. Like it's the only thing that can make Valyrian steel. It's the only thing that can make the dragon glass that defeats the others and the White Walkers. So like I like that thought process, but it's also just like dragons fight. That's how dragons fight each other. You know what I'm saying? Like dragons protect their riders when flame is being thrown at them and stuff like that. And it's just like dragon tactics and stuff like that. But I like that thought process. I do.
Okay. And we got another message we got from Bettina. We got this on our Instagram page. That's at Recap Kickback on Instagram. Make sure you follow if you want to send us any DMs. But she was saying that she wanted to know about, in the books, does it talk about the dragons' relationships or feelings with each other or amongst each other? For example, Vhagar used to belong to Rhaenys' daughter, right? So should Vhagar be hesitant or show emotion when killing Rhaenys? Do dragons have feelings? Aegon's dragon seemed like it was playful. And she's seen some online discussion about Vhagar reacting to Aegon's dragon when he arrived to the battle. Just wondering what your thoughts were. Thank you very much, from Bettina.
Yeah, shout out Bettina. Thank you for asking this question. So in the books, all we know is there's a special bond between Dragon Rider and the dragon. Like we know the whole, there are sites that have the dragon lineage, like the family lineage of where this dragon came from, this dragon, they have that, but we don't get like relationships amongst the dragons. I mean, the closest we got to was this season when Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax mourned the death of Luke's dragon Taraxes, or where Arax, because that was her dragon, you know what I'm saying, her baby dragon. So we got that in the story, but in the books we don't get any of that. And I'm wondering if Bettina is a fellow reader of the fourth wing like I am. If you read the Fourth Wing series, it goes very in depth between the relationships between the dragons and their riders and the dragons amongst themselves, and it's a really good teen, like a young adult book type of thing. If you like dragons, and you like this, you might like that, because that is really detailed with dragon relationships. But unfortunately, like Game of Thrones and Fire and Blood, because Fire and Blood is written as a history, and it's not written as like a, like we said it so many times, it's written like a history. It's not written like a novel. We don't get the dragon's motivations. The historians themselves says we will never understand dragon motivations. They actually say that a lot. They say we don't know the true sex of a lot of dragons. They believe that dragons may change their sex willingly. The only way that they ever know if a dragon confirm that a dragon was female at once is because they can trace the lineage. Like they had to have had babies for them to confirm that they were female at one point. So it's like, unfortunately, if you're looking for a lot of dragon lore, you're not going to get it, because this book is about the dragon riders themselves.
Interesting.
I hope that explained that.
No, that was a good explanation. Also, I think it leads us into a lot of the conversation we're going to have today about lineages and about, something about these dragons. So thank you for the feedback. Again, if you want to leave feedback, you can just email us recapkickback@gmail.com, or you can contact us on our various social media websites or apps, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Feel free to follow and show some love, and then let us know if you have anything you want us to talk about. Now, that said, at the end of this episode, we are going to get into a tiny book corner, not the longest book corner, but we always going to make time for Maester Mari's book corner, because she's the one with the receipts. So, so strap in, because we got a lot to talk about. Let's get into the episode. Mari, It was a lot. It was a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mhm.
I was trying to make sure to keep up with all the pieces because we are now in the aftermath of the big battle at Rook's Rest. We saw that at the end of the last episode. We know that Maelys and Rhaenys were dead. We know that. We've all been to the funerals at this point. I was there in my team green shirt. I still showed my respects, but I had to wear my green so people knew who I was. It's airbrushed. It had a picture of Rhaenys. It had the praying hands, and it had Maelys in the clouds. I got a whole thing drawn out. So airbrush shirt, show love.
Showing up at your ops funeral.
Okay, it's not my ops. That's my auntie too. See, that's the thing y'all forget. All these people is related. Okay, so we went to the funeral. We've mourned, but now
the biggest haters funeral.
That again. Rhaenys was for everybody. She wasn't for y'all. The blacks killed her, as far as I'm concerned. So here we are.
Okay, the mental gymnastics here.
Ain't that much gymnastics? She said, "I'm finna go to the fight," and they could have said no. They said yes. Go ahead, kick it. You got it. Go on, girl.
Not the two greens who killed her. Yeah, gotcha.
She pulled up on them. They was defending themselves. So anyway. As we see this episode, a lot of people are mourning Rhaenys, not just all of the fandom. We see Corlys is mourning for obvious reasons. That was his wife, but also Rhaenyra is mourning as well. Partly due to the fact that Rhaenys is obviously somebody that Rhaenyra had great respect for, and that she's somebody that she trusted. She always was looking to her as a hand, but at the same time, this is a big loss in Rhaenyra's army in her war efforts. Yeah, and her council. She's lost, and so now she's wondering, what do I do next? And Mari, of course, a big theme of House of the Dragon is that these people don't respect women. They don't respect women, and they definitely don't respect women in times of war. And so Rhaenyra is going to have an uphill battle in this episode, really establishing herself as the leader of this council, but also the leader of the war efforts, because right now they're not giving her no time.
Yeah, like when you said the theme, I was gonna say misogyny, but I didn't want to.
I mean, that's what I said. I said it just. You said the definition a little bit cuter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the word. Alfred Broom here, Lord Broom, calling Rhaenyra the gentler sex who doesn't know wartime strategy. She gagged him a bit. I think I wrote the quote down when she said, "We've known peace in our lifetime." There's been peace in our lifetimes. You have fought no more battles than I have. I was like, gagged him a bit. Gagged him a bit. Because
he act like I'm a man, so I know it all. But sir, you don't even know war. You've never seen it.
Exactly. So I was just like, she loses a fundamental piece to her council because Rhaenys was always backing her up. She was always there backing her up. She was always there trying to put them lords in their place. So losing somebody like that close to you and family, even though they fought a lot, even though Rhaenys may have went to her grave thinking that Rhaenyra killed her son, she still stood on thinking that Rhaenyra was the rightful claimant and wanting her to succeed. And so losing somebody that just willing to lift you up sucks. It really sucks. And the conversation between Rhaenyra and Alfred Broom kind of almost also sounded to me like he basically had to be here because he just hates the high towers more than anything. Did you get that feeling? He's like, oh yeah, no, to the day I die, they my ops.
Yeah, because she does send him away. She tells him, hey, Sir Alfred, I need you to go to Harrenhal. I need you to go to Harrenhal because I need you to talk to Daemon because he's ignoring all my ravens. My calls are going straight to voicemail. And I know that maybe if I send you, he might listen to you. And at first, Sir Alfred's like, so I'm fired. You fired me from the council because look, let's be honest. They don't get along at all. He doesn't respect her. He's constantly undermining her. He's always trying to question all her authority, questioning my authority. So he's doing that throughout. And so he should feel concerned that his job is in jeopardy. But she says, no, because I'm not really you do have value. You know what I'm saying? Although you get on my nerves, I know you hate the high towers. So at least we have that in common. You're never gonna turn my back on me. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm never. You never have to worry about me.
I have no options.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. And so it's like the enemy of the enemy is my friend. Yeah.
And
So
it like it's so weird because it doesn't even feel like he believes that a woman should be on the throne.
he definitely does not. He's the
Right.
one. He's one of the main ones beating the drum. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm supporting you, but just because look at the other side.
Yeah, it's really, really weird, dog. It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, throughout we will see Rhaenyra really struggling with trying to put herself at the front of these conversations because everybody keeps saying, "Well, I mean, what are we gonna do in the meantime until Daemon gets back?" You know, Sir Alfred, he actually is kind of like, I think he's saying the quiet part out loud. It's like, hey, you know, Daemon is gone because y'all had a little marital dispute, right? Like y'all having a little fight between y'all spouses. Y'all supposed to be on the same page. He didn't blocked you. He ignoring your calls, moved off to Harrenhal, and now we over here just waiting while the Greens are getting stronger and stronger. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that going on. The Daemon thing is looming over everybody's head because, you know, there is the idea that maybe if Daemon comes back, things would be better. But Rhaenyra is trying to galvanize these people behind her name, not his.
Yeah, it's just annoying. If you haven't, over on We Know Scripted TV, me, Taryn, and Grace did the Fire and Blood. We did the House of the Dragon mid-season book club where me, Taryn, and Grace could just basically word vomit and dump all of our thoughts as book readers about the show. Very like spoiler filled. So if anybody wants like ultra nerdy book content, you can go check that out on the We Know Scripted TV YouTube page. But the one thing we were like really talking about there is just like the Daemon of it all and this Rhaenyra Daemonness of it all. It's draining for me. I think if you're a book reader, it's draining for you. But at this point, I think even casual audiences are like, enough. Like, you tell me, it's 3 episodes here that he's at Harrenhal, still like daydreaming and shit. As somebody who doesn't know what's coming, is this entertaining to you?
Well, we haven't really gotten to Daemon at Harrenhal. This conversation, no, I don't mind jumping around a little bit, but I think for me, Daemon at Harrenhal in a vacuum in a bubble is just not. It's not that entertainment because like we know Daemon as the war guy, right? Like we know that he went and fought the Crabman and just like demolished them, by like basically single handedly. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who died in that war, but it was Daemon like pretty much putting the team on his back that got them to that point. So knowing that if there's a fight and he's sidelined, the fight is never going to truly happen until he's not, you know, off at Harrenhal in the hood. But I think that's a Team Black perspective. I really do. Because I think from Team Black, you know that like it turns up when Daemon comes out. When you get Daemon back reunited with Rhaenyra, I'm assuming at some point, you know, he got a dragon. He's got some experience in fighting and stuff like that. Like he's more tactical in those places where people are holding Rhaenyra kind of like to a height, like to a standard that she can't meet. Like, okay, yeah, you're a woman, so you don't know anything about war. Daemon comes in and all of that goes away. And you really have to stop leaning on the misogyny and the patriarchy of it all, because now you have Daemon as like her, like, okay, you got me. I know everything that there is to know about the politics side of this, but then I got him as the muscle. But I think if you're a Team Black and you're waiting for that, then yeah, I think that's going to be draining. As somebody who's Team Green, personally, I'm fine with this. Not to say that I don't like Daemon not being in the mix, but I like seeing more like an internal look at Daemon's psyche, kind of what made him that way. And I like that some of these visions that we're getting, especially in this episode, we're learning a lot about Daemon and his motivations, because I think I saw a love scene between him and his mom.
No.
That wasn't his mom?
No, because, that's Aemma. That's Aemma.
Oh, okay. Because she says, if only you were my firstborn son, as opposed to Viserys. And I'm like, why would this lady say that about you unless that's your mother?
No, that's Aemma. That's Viserys' first wife. The one who died in childbirth.
Then why is she talking about if he was her firstborn son?
I looked at the credits. That's Aemma.
I'm not questioning you. I'm saying, what is her motivation, Mari?
I don't think it's her saying. She said like, if only you were the firstborn. I don't think she said my firstborn.
See, I read it as my firstborn as opposed to that's what I read. And so you know, maybe I'm tripping. Leave something in the comments. Let me know, hey Chappell, you tripping. This ain't my dub, blah blah blah. You know, but the way I read it was he having a love scene with his mama, and and that's odd to me, right? Because we know that at the end of their interaction in Harrenhal on this episode, Alice Rivers looks at him and says, hey, you know, wouldn't it be wild if you had actually met your mom? And that's when I was like, boom, that was the mama in the bed. Oh my God, it's crazy. And so that's why I tied those things together. Again, I could be tripping.
I don't know where that came from. I was like, I was genuinely confused about why she brought up the mom, because I gotta look at I even have to look at the fan wiki on that, because I'm like, nothing was really between Viserys and Daemon's upbringing. I don't think there was anything really big about their parents, other than their father was supposed to be the like heir to the throne, and he died early. He died young, and that's why there was a crisis of succession and all that. Like, so I don't know. I gotta look that up. Like, why he might not know.
That's why I think it's more interesting though than maybe the book readers feel, because the book readers are probably trying to get to the action. Whereas like I'm more like, well, I don't really know Daemon like that. You know, I know what everybody perceives Daemon to be. I've known that he's a big fan of war crimes, but to me, his lineage, these sexual escapades he's having in his mind, Alice Rivers pointing out that he doesn't know his mom and stuff like that, that stuff appeals to me because I've never read the book, but then also not really in a rush for Daemon to come back. You know, some of the moving that he's doing at Harrenhal is kind of sloppy, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well.
But yeah, so we said all that. I swear I did not mean to get on Daemon, but I was just trying to say, like, Daemon being the thorn in Rhaenyra's side to me is so annoying right now. Like the infighting between them, I just don't think it's necessary. Like, Team Black and Team Green aside, like it doesn't make tactical sense for him to be even thinking about pressing his claim right now. I don't truly think it makes sense with the character. I think they are trying to give us all of this like background and all that to make it make sense. But it's just, you know, like I said, like Rhaenyra taking L after L after L after L. It just doesn't, it just won't make sense if she if she does start winning. Like, how are you gonna turn it around so quickly? You only got 3 episodes left. And
to me, I feel like if there's 3 episodes left and that's coming, it ain't coming this season. I think that this season is going to be one of those, like, maybe setting up for the revenge arc in maybe season 3, because like you said, it's not a lot of time left.
There's not a lot of time left, but again, go listen to that book club thing if you want to. But
I will not be spoiled.
I know you won't. But I think we plotted out the last 3 episodes, and so far I've been correct, unless they really stretch some shit, which would be catastrophic. Because I feel like this episode was a stretch. This episode was a stretch for me, which I thought I knew it was gonna be. I said it last week. I said next week it is just gonna be fallout, just like what happened after episode 1 and episode 2, and maneuverings, which is good. You're setting the pace. You're like trying to tell everybody where everything's gonna be. Like next week, I think it's definitely gonna pop off, and then depending on where they end the episode next week, the last 2 episodes should be full of shit happening. You know what I'm saying? So if they decide to try and stretch this season, I don't think that's gonna be smart, because I don't think you'll have as impactful an ending as you did in the first season if you don't hit some of these big beats, because it's gonna get really messy. Like like the dance goes on for a minute and it's going to get so confusing and convoluted down the line. So you might want to get this straightforward stuff out of the way, I would say, in these first 2 seasons here.
How did you feel about this episode overall? Were you high on it? Was it just meh? How do you feel?
I think just watching it once and having to come on here like right after it, I liked it. I like the episode because I love the talking stuff, but I constantly, because it is technically my job to do it on here, is reconciling it with the book, right? And I'll get into more of that in the spoiler section, but like to me, it's dragging because I know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
However, I appreciate what I'm seeing, if that makes sense. Like I appreciate what I'm seeing. I'm appreciating that they're making some people's characters bigger. I appreciate that they're showing us stuff that is kind of throwaway and might be implied in the book, but is getting time in the show because they're stretching it. So like I like it. I liked all of this. I liked all of this maneuvering. But it feels choppy to me. It feels like, okay, this person's over here doing this. This person's over here doing this. This person's over here doing. It's like the left hand isn't talking to the right hand type thing. And I'm just kind of ready for it to all come together so that we can we just literally get to these battles proper. I think that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying?
And I think, and so, you're right. I think it's less of a Team Green versus Team Black thing and more of a, you know what's coming and I don't. So I like this. I really like this episode because I felt like I got so many character moments. Like I said, Daemon and Harrenhal is very entertaining to me because, you know, he's got a lot going on. He's obviously losing his mind because he's in there surrounded by witchcraft. Alice Rivers is like haunting him left and right, but she's also confronting him about some of the things he's willing to do to be successful in this war. And we're getting insight into his character and what his motivation might be as far as the crown goes. So we'll see him talking to Sir Simon in this episode, and Sir Simon calls him Your Grace. And he's like, I need you to call me your king. He says, well, I mean, you're not the king, you're the prince. He's like, well, I'm married to a queen. So what does that make me? He says, the king consort. And Damon's like,
I love that.
But in this sense, what's the difference? And I think that there might be a good departure from. He's like, but do we have to talk about that? Yeah, like definitely we can just say the king part. And I think that maybe, and I haven't read the books, but I think that might be something that's very like a departure from the books, is that Daemon is in a situation where in this version, he is shown multiple times that he actually could have interest in taking and making a claim for the throne. Now, obviously, for a number of reasons, that might not be the best idea, considering people are barely on board with the Rhaenyra thing, and he's coming in to muddy those waters even more. And then on top of that, he's got war crimes and stuff left and right, and we'll see them play out in this episode. So for me, I kind of like this. I like that we're getting some insight into what he's thinking.
Yeah. Like I get it, but do we need 3 episodes of this though? Like,
that's a good question.
That's my biggest thing. 3 episodes of him having these weird ass dreams.
I like the dreams, but I do like that we did get some politic in here too. So we saw that the Brackens and the Blackwoods are still at odds. We know that Daemon has the Blackwoods. He's like, I need you to go get the Brackens. We see Daemon with his weapon. We see him with his dragon, and he's like, hey, bend the knee or die. And they're like, we choose death. Now what? And so he's kind of like, damn, that doesn't help me, because contrary to popular belief in Westeros, you can't just kill all the people who disagree with you. Sometimes you need allies. And so he goes to the Blackwoods and says, there has to be a more persuasive way we can get this going. Like, how can we get the Brackens to come over to our side? Willem, have you ever considered, I don't know, murdering innocent women and children? And Willem is like, let's try it. Let's try it. So next thing we hear, babies are being snatched from women. Men are coming home to their wives being taken. The innocent are taking the L here because this will make the Brackens come crawling back to Daemon, and they will fight in his honor. But Alice Rivers tells him this is a mistake and you will pay for it. And we see very quickly that he does, because when the Brackens show up, they're not like, hey, you got us, we bend the knee, call off your people who are raping and pillaging everybody. They say, no, this makes it even worse, and we don't want to work with you. Goodbye, leave us alone. And I thought that's pretty cool.
Daemon, what are you doing? Like, it's just like, sir, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, again, it's almost like he, you know, how Kristen Cole had been marching up, been like, bend the knee, or I'm gonna chop your head off. And then the people are like, oh, I guess I'll begrudgingly bend the knee. Every time I watch the Rook Stress battle, I'm like, why would I do this? Why would I actually fight here? I don't want to be here. Like, and then not only that, but like Sir Kristen was sending the garrison out of the made up garrison of all the people that they had conquered out first to get like, I'm turning away. I'm going AWOL. Why does Daemon want to have, like Alice said, why do you want a host of people who hate you? Huh? Like, again, people could be like, well, that's wartime tactics, blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, did that work for Rob? You know what I'm saying? Game of Thrones? It just doesn't, it's just stupid to me. Like, trying to heavy-handedly get a family on your side that doesn't want to be there. I was really surprised he didn't just like flame them all right then and there. I'll talk more about that. Remind me to talk more about that in the book club section. But like, and then his thought process when he was, did you know what he was talking about when he's like, there's things that the crown can't do? And I was sitting there
killing babies.
I did not realize. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I didn't realize what he was talking about until they came and they were like, the war crimes. I was like, Daemon, like, oh my God, there's no way you could have thought that was gonna work. Like, war crimes, this will get people on my side.
I mean, that's what they've been doing. Daemon, I feel like, to me, Daemon comes off as a man who only has one tool in his tool chest, and it's a hammer. And so everything looks like a nail. So he's like, do this or dragon, do this or dragon, do this or dragon. And when dragon don't work, he's like, war crimes? You know, like, he doesn't have the political acumen, and he has such a horrible reputation. You know, that was one of the reasons why Otto Hightower was very adamant about Rhaenyra even being one of the options for succession into the to be the heir to the throne after Viserys, because he was like, I mean, you can't possibly pick Daemon. He's nuts. And everyone's like, oh, Daemon's fine. A little rough around the edges, but he okay. Viserys is wrong. Daemon is cracked. And we will see that, yeah, it's pretty hard to lead people once you killed their loved ones, stolen their children, and tried to take everything by force. You know, there's times where I think you can intimidate people into getting their armies to bend the knees. But the Brackens and the Blackwoods are the most stubborn people I've ever seen in any of Westeros. God. So yeah, they're both like, we'd rather be dead. Yeah, and so and killing them honestly leaves Daemon in the same position he's in right now. You think Daemon finna go to war against Kristen Cole with the Brackens alone? With the Blackwoods alone? Yeah, it ain't happening. So he really needs to get them on his side, and he fails. This is an epic fail for Daemon.
Yeah, and you know, I don't mean to jump, but it's just funny because we also have Jace on the other side using, you know, diplomacy to try and get the Freys on board. And it's just like, I just can't, like, I've never seen, I'm just trying to reconcile. Again, people are going to probably get mad because I keep saying this, but I'm trying to reconcile book Daemon with show Daemon in my head, because like it's truly like night and day. Because I've never seen a man take so many L's while also sitting around and doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so weird. But and it's kind of whiny too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
yeah, he's not the most likable character right now.
No, it's like you and your wife get into an argument, so you go speed out and try and get your own army. It's literally the equivalent of Safari getting on that 4-wheeler after he got into a fight with Erica Mena for All My Love and Hip Hop. Like, it just doesn't. It's so stupid. It's like, do you know we're at war? We're at war. Chop to it. Like, I don't know.
He's at war, kicking it in Harrenhal, which I've explained several times, is the ghetto. The building is falling apart. They tell him today about, like, on this episode, about the repairs, and they're like, yeah, the faucets are leaky, the roof is leaky. We haven't repaired this in a few years. This is different. We need to pay for this. Also, we don't have any money. You think you could call your wife and see if she could just send us some coal? And he's like, nope.
Nope, let's chop some wood. He out there chopping the wood by himself.
He's a man of a people. He got out there on the ground floor and started chopping wood. It reminds me of when George Bush was like, oh yeah, I passed out some water. You know, like, I think it's that same concept. Like, Donald Trump was throwing the toilet paper with the paper towels. That's how I feel like. I chopped the wood. What do you mean?
I'm doing the things. And it's so crazy because his hair is getting all like long and ragged and stuff. And I'm just like, and he's trusting this woods witch lady. It's just so much. I don't know. This statement stuff, it's gone on too long for me. The storyline has run stale, if you ask me. So I don't know. Yeah. I just feels like he's treading water. And I don't know. Yeah.
I have a question about Alice Rivers. Can anybody, is she really there? Can anybody else see her? Because nobody else acknowledges her existence, and she's always at the table.
Well, no, Sir Simon, like, so when she left Daemon, and Sir Simon was coming up, he did look at her like,
he like walked past her like, who you?
But I can see why you would think that, because the way she walked past him was like very like weird and ghostly. Like the way she like she was,
like she's unbothered by everybody else in the building, but they seem to be like, and why is this, like, why is she around? You know, like, I just keep seeing, like, them looking at her like, and can anybody explain to me who the witch is?
Yeah, so that, you know, that would be so funny if they went that route, but she's supposed to be real, so.
Yeah. Other things that are happening at Harrenhal, Daemon has to hear the screams of these war crimes. Somehow the magic is making like the screams coming out, the echoing down the halls. Like he's really in hell right now, and he needs to get out of there because nothing good is coming from his time at Harrenhal. And we know Harrenhal will remain the ghetto forever. You know, like by the time Game of Thrones rolls around, Harrenhal is still kind of raggedy.
Yeah, still raggedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So moving on from Daemon, because I'm sure we'll have to double back to him at some point. Jace, you mentioned Jace. Jace's big idea is that he needs to go talk to the Freys, and I flinched because
you got scared there for a second.
I cannot ever forget how much I hated Walder Frey. You know, like it's like you bring up the Freys, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. But Jace, to your point, was that like he came in very diplomatic. He's like, we need to get passage across this bridge. We need to be able to come through River Run. And so in order to do that, I need to go and make good with the Freys and offer them something so they'll let us through. And so they go to the Freys, and the Freys are initially sitting there like, yeah, we hear you, but what y'all gonna do about Vhagar? What's that about? What we got, you know, we're not really concerned about Rhaenyra like that. Like, we don't have any real allegiance to Alicent either. But Alicent and them, they have Vhagar, and I'm not loving Vhagar. And Jace kind of hits them with, I mean, I have a dragon too, and it's outside. Y'all just gonna scoff at that? And they're like, but, I mean, regardless, but Vhagar, though. You know, like, is your dragon finna be in 2-3 places at one time? Because if not, we need to hear some solutions before we join your side. And Jace ends up offering them, what is it, the twins?
No, Harrenhal. They asked for Harrenhal.
Oh yeah, they asked for Harrenhal of all places. The ghetto,
yeah. And he's like, sure, why not? Basically,
and he asked for something in advance,
right? And so what he's asking is like, Tywin Lannister keeps saying on the Green Council, oh, my brother Jason is raising a great host in the West. And it's gonna come from the west, and Sir Kristen's gonna come up from like the northeast, and they want to trap Daemon in the middle in Harrenhal and his host in Harrenhal. Jace is trying to get the Freys to not let the Lannisters cross at the towers, at the twins. And you know, and they're like, well, what are you finna do for us? And that's how we get that's how we get this conversation. And it's a great bit of diplomacy.
Yeah, because you know, they obviously don't really care to work for either side. They're kind of like, we're not really bending the knee anytime soon unless you can make this worth our while. And they talk about that Laris is gone. So Harrenhal shouldn't really have anybody in control of it. And so the Tullys want it. So Jace agrees to it, but he tells them, y'all gotta bend the knee. And so it seems like, you know, we got a good toast. And then we see Jace later on go back to tell Rhaenyra, look what I did. I did something. And so she's very happy and very proud of him, but also she's a little salty. She's a little sick about it, because not because of the action that he made, but it's the fact that she's really sitting in a space of inaction right now. You know, they're not letting her do anything. She's a dragon rider, but she can't go to war. Like, they won't let her fight anything because they're saying, you're the queen. We got to protect the lineage. We can't allow you to go do this work. I mean, we've even seen Baela out, you know, patrolling. Jace has barely done anything, and now he's managed to accomplish something. So through this episode, we're seeing a lot of Rhaenyra's internal monologue of, why are y'all treating me like this? Well, I'm here, and it feels like y'all are not even, I think he said, I wish they disrespected me, but instead they're just disregarding me. You know, it's like, she's like, if it was as bad as they weren't wanting to listen to me, that's fine, but they're talking around me. They're not even talking to me anymore.
Yeah, and I like how Mysteria, the White Worm here, is the person she's going to for counsel. It's like, she's like, girl, you see this? You see what I'm dealing with? Because like what is happening? Yeah, exactly. Because and Mysteria is like, the people aren't liking the high towers, so we're still good, girl. I got you. Like, and then she sends her to go do something, which I'm like, what are you finna do?
Well, Mysteria. So here's what happens. Mysteria says, hey, girl, listen, the high towers, they did something wild. We managed to get through this far, and then a recap, and I ain't even talking about it. That the high towers didn't paraded the dragon's head through the town's streets, and the small folk, they ain't a fan. They like, that's a god. That is you're not supposed to be able to kill dragons like that. So y'all walking around parading it, kind of tap dancing on this god's grave. We don't like that. It's a bad omen. And so Mysteria's kind of like, ain't it? I mean, it kind of is a bad omen. I don't think you're supposed to do something like this. So this is good, you know, because people are going to be fleeing. They're leaving King's Landing. They don't want to be there anymore because it's not like, it doesn't look safe. We know the rat catchers got killed. They were innocent. We know that leadership is shifting over there as well. And you know, it's just not looking great. They lost 900 people in that battle at Rook's Rest to Meleys and Rhaenys. So it's just not great at King's Landing. So Mysteria tells her, I mean, just because you can't do something don't mean you can't get something done. And so they end up telling the servant lady. She's the one who they send. And we see her linking up with the servant lady who was raped by Aegon. We see her, that lady is back. And so we see them kind of link up, but we don't ever get the conversation about what exactly she's going to tell her once she infiltrates King's Landing.
Yeah, like, it's very interesting to say the least. So what it is it's such a grave miscalculation on Kristen Cole's part to draw the head of the dragon through the town. Like, you're telling them, okay, so you're telling them we felled our enemy is down, our enemy is killed, but you're also telling them that you can be killed, your dragons can be killed, you know what I'm saying? Like, your king can be down. Dragons themselves are not invulnerable. And that's gonna have like big ramifications down the line. So it's like, he really didn't see, he miscalculated that, and who's surprised, because Kristen Cole is not that smart. He's just been succeeding upward, like failing upward. So like it's very interesting that happened. But now the townsfolk are like, okay, the gullet has been choking off our resources. We have no meat, we have no supplies, we have nothing. Y'all killed the queen that never was, who was beloved by all the people.
Right, we liked her. Yeah,
we liked her. We liked Melis. She used to be cool, you know. And Rhaenyra is not gonna let that stand. So now, if I'm in King Landing, I'm like, oh snap, they finna come here. There's no way they don't roll up on us.
Yeah,
I want to get out.
And unfortunately,
I gotta get out.
And unfortunately for us, They locked us down in here. We can't even get out because Aemon is now in charge. And he says, okay, well, if the issue is people fleeing, why don't we just lock the doors? And I mean,
now we got to get into the greens because, baby, what the fuck is they doing over there?
It's ghetto. It's the hood. I as a green, listen, I want to be very clear. I'm a green via Alicent. I'm a big Alicent fan, but these other greens, woo, they be doing some stuff because this Kristen Cole character, he be wilding. He do.
King Aegon is brought back in a litter. It looked like a coffin, to be quite honest.
Pine box. Yeah.
But he's brought back, he's carried back in a litter. Master Orwell gets to go in on him. And we see the extent of his injuries. Like his armor has melted into his flesh. It's his whole left side. Like I think I said last week, his whole left side. They're resetting bones. Like all his bones
resetting. The bones are broken. Yeah.
I mean, like they were setting them. Like
it was broke.
Popping them back to place. That's all they could do back then. He had to pop that back in place.
Yeah, put that bad boy back.
And they're like, Alicent's asking a million questions, like, is he gonna survive? They're like, girl, we don't know. Get out the way. And
yeah, could you please get out the operating room, lady? We're trying to work here.
And then Aemon's like, well,
I wonder who's in charge now.
I know. And this Green Council moment where they're like, Alicent is trying to say, like, I need to be in charge. Aemon can be in the field. And they're like, what's the point? There's already a woman over there leading things. You know, we don't need a woman over here. Aemon's more than capable. Like, and it's just like, I like how you brought up Viserys and Daemon. And it's like that contrast. It's like, everybody warned you about the crazy second brother, the second son. And that's why they all constantly tried to make it so that Daemon wouldn't get the throne. And now you're in that same position where Aegon is down and Aemon is the crazy second son who now just got up and took the head of the throne. He's not the king. He is the protector of the realm right now. And it's interesting that all of the decisions are flowing from him. And we're getting this really nice shot, like this really, really well done shot of like, we're just seeing Alicent like in the room, but clearly not present. We're hearing there's very important conversations going on around her with the government of the city, the governing of the city, but she's clearly not taking it in. She basically cannot believe what just happened. She's like, they just like pushed me out.
And they're pushing her out for the person that she's warning them about. Alicent has never wavered in her like, hey, Aegon don't really love him, but Aemon is nuts. He's crazy, and y'all don't hear me. There's a point where she'll go up to Kristen Cole, like, you know what Aemon is. What are you doing? And Kristen Cole's just like, sorry, Alicent. You know, like, babe, what do you want me to do about it? You know, and it's the way she always talks about him like that. She's always like, you know what he is. She's not like, you know what he's capable of, but you know what he is. Like, definitively, this is him. And so when they're saying, yeah, Alicent, move out the way, we're letting the crazy one take over, she's sitting there just thinking, oh dear God, what happened? Like, how did we get here? Because from her point of view, she has already lived this life. When Viserys was the king, he wasn't running nothing. Alicent was in charge because Viserys could barely get up out of bed, you know? And so she like, I've done this already. It's only natural for me to be like, hey, the king is down, but in the meantime, mama's back. Y'all ain't got nothing to worry about. They trust her. They know her. She's already done this before. They're not under any illusion that Viserys was walking around just healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know they ain't seen that man in hundreds of years. You know, it's been 50 years and you've seen the king twice. You know, it's like, all right, we kind of have to assume that maybe he's not well. But Alicent, she's a woman of the people. And so they're kind of like, all right, she'll be fine. But she kind of is pushed to the side to where now she has to sit back and watch Aemon work. And Aemon very quickly falls into this position. Like, this doesn't feel like, hey, mom, you were, battled. You know things about being in this position. You've led before. You're my mom. You have a lot of wisdom. What do you think? This very much felt like, whew, thank God she's out the way. Now, here's what I've been planning. You go over there. You do this. You do this. And she just starts working, and you can just see like the room starts spitting for her. It's just kind of just like her worst fear is being realized, because now the one that she told y'all to worry about is in a place to where you should all be worried.
Yeah, it's nuts, man, over there.
Yeah. Also, she's silenced in her own home, and that's gotta suck, right? Because you was the queen.
Yeah.
And so now you sit at the table that you've been sat at the head of for so long, essentially. And now you like, you got no opinion. And the patriarchy and the misogyny is equal on both sides. It just is. You know, it's so cool to me, the parallel of Rhaenyra is going through this and Alicent is going at this. And the men are the ones walking around with that one hammer. You know, Kristen Cole only knows how to exude influence over power. And so that's why he's got, with power. And so that's why he's got his dragon head marching through the streets. He's like, yeah, now they see dragon head, they're gonna get in line, right? Daemon is the one with his hammer, and he's like, yeah, I got a dragon, I can just burn you, right? You know, but the women are the ones who know diplomacy. They're the one who learned up, you know, Rhaenyra and Alicent both learned at the feet of Viserys. And so they know a little bit about politicking and what it means to keep the peace. They were in the helm of the peace time. And now the people who have been pushing for war have finally got what they wanted. And so I don't know. I understand why people hate the Greens, but their storyline is just infinitely more entertaining than the Blacks. I'm sorry.
Well, because half of them are stuck in Harrenhal doing nothing. But anyways, I'm imagine that Alicent is being triggered, like being pushed right back to that place where she was when she was a young girl, where she had the baby and she was like, had no say in anything that she did, had to have the babies, had to have sex with Viserys, had no power at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, yeah. And then Kristen Cole pretending like he ain't see Aemon like flame Aegon.
He's like,
when she asked him.
She said, and what happened with Aemon? He said, shoot, I couldn't even say, honestly. I couldn't even call it. I have no clue. Sorry. Yeah. Kristen Cole, out of control. She was like, so you only loyal to me in the bedroom? When he called her Alicent, at first I didn't peep it, but she pulled the Daemon. She said, Alicent, I don't ever give you permission to call me by my first name. It's your grace, your queen, queen regent, something like that, but it ain't Alicent, so cut that out.
I was like, he knows you carnally, girl. What did you think was gonna happen? Look, of course he gonna call you your God-given.
call her what he want to call her, because now he's making such a move to be in control. He is the hand of the king, and so when they had to make a decision about who takes control, they say, well, let's ask the hand, and he concedes that it should be Aemon. Were you surprised that Larys said that it should also be Aemon?
No, because Larys is only out for himself, and he mad he ain't getting no feet. So
is he not getting no feet? Has she cut him off?
He ain't getting no feet. He ain't getting no feet.
Girl, well, see, now this is a tactical error on Alicent's part, because if feet is all he wants, a little feet here and there, just keep him in line. So you know what I'm saying? Though. It is weird. It is weird, but it's a war. You know what I'm saying? If you gotta show some toes, there are worse things that you could be doing.
He wants where the power is, and he wants to control the power, and he did a masterful job of controlling Aegon, and now I think he's trying to get in the good graces of Aemon by being on Aemon's side. He's realizing that she's no longer the source of the power, so he moves with the source of the power.
Gotcha. And word of Rhaenys' death is starting to get around the Westeros lands. So we see people grieving in different ways. We saw Rhaenyra, but we also see a lot of Corlys's grief. And we see Baela going to talk to Corlys, because Rhaenyra says, I need a favor. I need you to go talk to your grandfather, because I kind of need a hand. His wife was kind of my hand, and now she's dead. So you could just get your grandpa to go do that for me. And he hits her with what I would be calling the Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever. Have I not given enough? Like, my wife is dead. She just died. My son is dead. Everything's in disarray. And now you want me to be your kid? Are you kidding me? And she's, kind of. I want you to be my hand. If you could just, make that happen. I thought that was kind of cool. But Baela, she wasn't moved. She said, all right, Papa, well, look. Granny died the way she wanted to go. Mom died the way she wanted to go. I'ma die just like that. And honestly, I don't even want to be the heir to Driftmark because I'm a Targaryen, baby. This ain't even for me. So good luck with what you're doing. And leaves him standing there. I kind of love Baela. Is that not controversial?
She's so amazing. Yeah, this is good. You know, Corlys and his grief, I can only imagine. And I love how in the behind the scenes, and even Baela says it here, it's like the Hall of Nine, like all that stuff that he had accomplished, all that adventures he had done and had went on, it was like they thought it was for him to like show off to other people, but it was like him trying to impress her, him trying to show that he is worthy of her. Because remember, she was a Targaryen princess. You know what I'm saying? So like he did all of this stuff. He did all this stuff to impress Rhaenys, and she's gone. And I love that they gave him like that was the like motivation behind the scene and stuff like that of all of his grief and stuff like that. So it was, man, that was sad. That was powerful. And I did love Baela coming here to basically shake him and be like, we're still in war, Pappy. We still in war. We need your help.
Grow up. Get over
it. We don't want her to die in vain. Let's go. Giddy up. So I did love the blood and fire, salt and sea. And it comes back to the question of heirs. And we saw in season 1 how important legacy and heirs are to Corlys. And I think they needed this to spurn him wanting to figure out his own succession.
Yes, and Corlys was one who once brought up the idea that, or was it Vaemond that brought up the idea that like, yeah, bloodlines live on, but it's names that matter. People really care about the names.
It was Corlys. Yeah, it was Corlys.
Yeah. But I'd say that this episode probably gives a counter argument to that, because eventually we will see Jace and Rhaenyra talking, and Jace says, you know, the big issue here is these dragons. Earlier in the episode, we saw that Baela's sister is off with Jane Arryn, and Jane Arryn says, hey, I thought y'all sent me dragons. She's like, we got dragon eggs, right? That's kind of
dragons. We got 2 dragons. We got 2 dragons.
2 dragon eggs? And she's like, yeah, I mean, that's not really dragons right now. I kind of need...
No, they got 2 dragons and 4 dragons.
Oh, yeah, they got 2 dragons and 4 dragon eggs. Yeah, she's like, these little dragons ain't gonna do... I need... You told me dragons. And then we saw the Tullys kind of being like, hey... the Freys being like, hey, what about Vhagar? You know, everybody's saying this is nuclear war at this point. Everybody's pulling out their weapons of mass destruction. Where are ours? And so Jace goes to Rhaenyra and talks about that. And she's just like, I mean, but we need more dragons. What I need is dragons, and I need dragon riders, and I just don't know where I'm gonna get them from. And Jay says, I mean, there are few people who could ride dragons. They're not exactly in the family per se, but due to the mixing of these bloodlines and a lot of people who are not pure Targaryen, there's some other dragon riders out there. The Malisters, I think Tarleys were named. And Rhaenyra, to me, kind of read it's like, you just want any old body on a dragon? I mean, damn, you know, like, don't get me wrong, they got dragon blood in them, but they can't just be on, like, everybody. And Jace hits her with, I mean, do we have a lot of options? And so it seems like the episode is setting the tone for Rhaenyra going to gather the others, the other people who have any connection, so that they can start to get some dragon riders and some dragons out here for this war. Mari, they're assembling the Avengers.
Yeah, just I guess they're casting a wide net. They're like, hey, any of you who think you got a little bit, you think you got a little bit of Targaryen blood in you, come on, let's go see if we can hop on a dragon. But also, it's very dangerous, so you might not make it. But also, you should try, because if you get a dragon, you know, you'll be a lord and all this stuff. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. I think it's the smart idea, because he's right. He's like, we don't have a dearth of dragons. Like, they have plenty of dragons. They have 3 dragons that have known riders. They mentioned 2 here, Vermithor and Silverwing. We all know about Sea Smoke, who's been kicking up a ruckus the last few episodes, and they have at least 3 dragons that have never known riders, which are wild dragons, which are harder to tame and all that. But you know, it's a good idea when you're looking around like we need dragons. Well, we have dragons, we need people to ride them.
And they have to go get those people. Now, Mari, since we're talking about people who might have some good old Targaryen blood in them who could potentially ride a dragon, this takes me back to a couple episodes ago. There was a drunk guy in a bar talking about how, like, hey, you remember me? I swear that's like my like I'm the other brother, the one y'all don't know about. His name was the drunk, wasn't he?
Yeah, Ulf the white, Ulf the drunk, Ulf the facade. Yeah.
I mean, they finna call up drunk Ulf and say, hey, you wanna ride a dragon, huh? You say you Targaryen, right? Why don't you prove it? Go talk to the dragon real quick. I probably wouldn't sign up for that. I think that unless I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to know that my dad was Targaryen. Like, I basically got to be blonde before I would even get in the same vicinity of the dragon. You can't just be going in there dark hair thinking like, this should all right. This will be okay, right? Like, there are plenty of people on, like, dark hair people on dragons, right? This is normal. I wouldn't risk it because you could just get burnt to a crisp.
Fun fact, Rhaenys is technically in the book, she has black hair.
Yeah, but still, again, that does not mean my black-haired ass would be bold enough to go do what Rhaenys did. We hear in this episode that Rhaenys, she snuck into a dragon pit and got Meleys when the time came. She's like, hey, people were not happy with that, but because Meleys would not bow to anybody else. But Rhaenys walked in and Meleys was like, Mom, what's up? What's good? And so they teamed up very quickly. And she then commanded one of the more powerful dragons in the realm. So, I mean, it happens. I just know I wouldn't be signing up for that.
Because that's the only way. Like, that's how Aemon gets Vhagar. That's how Rhaenys gets Meleys. The only way for these bigger, older dragons to have multiple riders is if, you know, people approach them after their original rider dies or their second or third rider dies. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these other dragons like Syrax, Arax, Vermax, like the younger dragons like Jace and them, those dragons were born with them. So that's the difference, you know, with Targaryen dragon, like with dragons and Targaryen rights. Like, once a Targaryen is born, they always get a dragon egg put in their crib. If it hatches, they bond with that dragon and that dragon grows with them. Normally, they don't have to worry about a civil war, which is why it allows time for the dragons to grow and the riders to grow and stuff like that. But that's why Rhaenyra at this point is desperate, because she has plenty of dragons, but they're all so young because they all were hatchlings that hatched with their riders, and all her riders are her sons that are less than 10. You know what I'm saying? Not riders, but all their dragon lords or people who command dragon bonds are all like less than 10 years old. So the dragons are all young dragons and stuff like that. So if you don't get your hatchling like that, Baela's moon dancer hatched with her, and she's at this point, you know, in the book like 14, 15 or something like that. So it's big enough for her to command and stuff like that. But like Vhagar, you know, Meleys, Vermithor, Silverring, all of these dragons who've had former riders, the only way now is to be able to tame them, prove to them that they will accept you as their rider. And that's the only way to get big, large, old dragons. And that's what they need. They need big, large, old dragons to face Vhagar.
Yeah. I mean, Vhagar is the big bad wolf right now. And so they got to figure out the way to take him out. Obviously, Daemon would be able to help if he ever left Harrenhal, but we are yet to see that. So there's a lot to unpack and a lot to think about as we move forward. Mari, is there anything else in this episode that you want to talk about?
No, we can go to the book club.
All right. And all right. Well, thank y'all all for being here. If you want to tap out before our book club section, then this is your time. We'll catch you all next week at the same time to talk about House of the Dragon season 2 episode 6 as we approach our finale in a couple weeks. And again, if you want other House of the Dragon content or other Recap Kickback content, make sure you subscribe to Recap Kickback at recapkickback.com. Mari, we got a book club to get to. So now is your last chance. Tap out right now. Maester Mari's book club is about to begin. Mari, tell us, what do the books say about what these happenings were today in Westeros?
So, again, the reason why, and I've said it, I know I've said it every time in the spoiler section, but Daemon just wandering around Harrenhal at this point is so annoying because at this point he's already had a host, he's already had battle victories and stuff like that. So it's just stupid. But with the Brackens and the Blackwoods as well, it's, I don't know if it's technically I guess a deviation from the book in the sense of, because after the Battle of the Burning Mill, after Daemon is able to get with the Blackwoods, they actually take over Stonehenge, the Brackens ancestral seat. So they just take it over and they have it. Like the Brackens, he doesn't ask the Brackens to join them, he just takes them over and imprisons them and stuff like that. And it's like one less house to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you can't make them come to heel, just having to not worry about them at your back is good too. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So, because I think the show is depicting it as he needs them, and so he can't just kill them because he actually needs them.
Yeah, and that's why it's just like, no, you don't. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in the order the show is giving it to us, he does, because he actually haven't done anything except for get the Blackwoods.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the frustrating part, you know, because it's just like, right, like in the book he doesn't need them because he's already gathered his host. His host is made of all of the Riverlands, because even though the Tullys of Riverrun aren't declaring, everybody else is allowed to declare, and the Brackens were really the only people that were supporting Aegon in the Riverlands. So once they break the Brackens and get rid of them, the Riverlands, basically all the other houses and stuff, come over to Rhaenyra and Daemon. So whatever. It just seems like he's begging. It seems like he's begging. And then not only is he begging, now he's like killing, murdering, raping, and pillaging. And it's just like, why did you think this was gonna help? Why did you think houses were and that's why I'm saying, like, it's weird because now all these houses are saying they don't want to join him. And I'm like, what is going to happen? Because they need to join him. Like, I don't know. You see,
for me, it makes sense in context of the show because remember how adamant people were for Daemon not to be in control? You know, it wasn't so much that Otto wasn't like, we need to put the world in a civil war, basically, by putting Rhaenyra on the throne. Otto, we know, is happy with Green being on the throne. But he was like, give it to Rhaenyra before you give it to Daemon. You know, so he always identified that Daemon was never like, because let's be very clear. Otto might have been trying to give the opposition to Rhaenyra, but he was the first one who said Rhaenyra needs to be sitting on the throne instead of Daemon. You know, Viserys was like, he's fine. He's my brother. What do you mean? It's all right. But everybody else has been saying Daemon is a wild boy. And we haven't really seen a lot of that. We saw that he was in brothels and stuff like that. So we know he was moving less honorably than you would want somebody of nobility. But we also saw that he was a war hero in a way, you know, fighting the Crabman. Yeah. And so it was like, yeah, Daemon wilding, but he ain't that bad. But I think the war crimes and all that stuff, I think that really hits home that Daemon was never supposed to be in charge. Because I think if you're looking at it just from a point of view of like how you just explained it to me, whereas like Daemon should be making all these moves that make total sense, it's like, then why shouldn't he be in charge? Because he's kind of mean, you know? Yeah. But you have to also depict that he wouldn't be great in charge either. You know what I'm saying? Like there are going to be downsides to him being in control of this.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. They are making him, it show continuity. You're right there, but just in the book, it's like, again, he was a big weakness to her, but he really was one of her greatest strengths. And this whole story of the infighting between them it's getting old to me.
Can I insert a different a theory?
Sure.
I would like for you, as someone who's read the books, to watch the episodes under the guise that the show is showing the perspective of if this story was told by women. Because I know that the Maesters passed this down, right? And the Maesters passed it down, and Daemon is a huge help to Rhaenyra, but maybe in the real time, right? Aside from outside of the book, the stories that we get from the books, that the women are like, no, these are the things. And Rhaenyra had an obstacle in Daemon. Yeah, yes, he was a help, but I think they really are showing the weaknesses of a lot of these men. Kristen Cole, for sure. Aemond, we keep talking about how nuts he is, but we have yet to see Aemond do anything extremely insane, except for maybe burning his brother. Like, obviously that's bad, but we know they didn't really love each other, and he wants to be in control. That kind of stuff makes sense. But I'm waiting on the Aemond stuff to drop. You know, like I'm still waiting on them to say, Aemond is so wild that Allison says, you know what he is. I'm wondering if the books kind of give like the watered down, the watered down version of the history as told by the white man that rules and that is able to tell the story. And then maybe the show is giving us the critical race theory version where they're like, well, actually, you know, actually, that actually was doing some wild stuff. And if it wasn't for Rhaenyra, then all this stuff would have been for naught. And he was actually a lot more of a hindrance than you would have been led to believe.
And I do, like, because I agree, because that's how I've been trying to look at it. The history is a history that's told, but with 3 different sources years after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I'm looking for, so I'm looking for the continuity between the two of how they could have perceived this, you know? So like we said last season, the departure of Laenor, you know, really escaping and not dying, that even made sense within the history, because how would they have known about that secret plot if the, you know, the plot went ahead as it would. Here, it still doesn't jive with the history, like in a sense of like, you know, Daemon, I mean, just unless Daemon does raise the host and then they just forget all of the fuckery that happened before it, you know what I'm saying, with the history, because
or maybe Rhaenyra like pulls rank and like puts them there, and it's not really Daemon's deal. He just happens to be at Harrenhal when it all goes down.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, they would have to show that in the show, but it doesn't. I don't know. I see what you're saying. Like, the history gives the victories to the men, and this actually brings me to Alicent's side, because like in the books, it's Alicent who says that the gates should be closed and barred and nobody should get out. But they're like, Aemond is the one who says it here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. In the books, both Rhaenyra and Alicent are seen as more brutal queens. They're like, you know, when Blood and Cheese happened in the history, it says like Alicent said to find Blood's whole family, and kill them all because she wants to bathe in their blood. Like, I get that. I do believe that there's an essence of misogyny in the history books where it makes these 2 women seem like even worse than they are. And I do love the turnabout where it's like, no, they're actually almost powerless. Like, nobody's listening to them, but mass atrocities are being done under their names. So I can see that. I really can see that. I just think this is like, I just think this is different. This is probably the only storyline that deviation so far that doesn't make sense, doesn't give you that same like, oh, that's cool, it's shedding light on something that the book only touched on. It really just feels like a filler with Daemon. It really does. I mean, and again, just because something's filler doesn't mean it's not good. Like, the character study and all of those feelings about him being the second and all of that, that's great storytelling. I didn't need that, because I feel like I know the psychology of Daemon, but you're right. Maybe it is better to be like kind of spelled out, like, because it has the past 3 episodes, just the inadequacy of being the second son. Oh, if only you were born first. Viserys was not a good king. You would have made a good king. Oh, even when he was king, he stole your birthright and gave it to his daughter. Oh, now you're jealous of the daughter, even though you're married to her. So you don't know how you feel about all that. Like, it's so many things, and I get it. And it is cool to see, but I am just at my wit's end, because again, we're at episode 3, and even at the end of this, they did not resolve it. So we still got to resolve it. You know, we still have to resolve it. So I think that's where it is. I think it's just the length of time it's taking for me. That's really killing me here, killing me.
I get that. I like what you said about Alicent too, because I think that's one of the reasons why I've always kind of been kind of cool like on Alicent is that I've always thought that people were giving her an unnatural amount of hate for the war starting. Like her hearing the prophecy from Viserys and misunderstanding it was the reason why the war started, when in reality the war was going to happen the moment Viserys died regardless. And I think that the show really doesn't lean into the fact that there's nothing Alicent could have done. There's nothing she could have done to stop that war from happening. So short of killing Aegon, there really wasn't nothing she could have done to keep Otto and all the men in the realm from being like, so we're not gonna let a woman rule us, right? Like we're just not gonna go with that. Cool. So whenever Viserys dies, and they were pretty much poisoning him from what I can tell, they were trying to push it along, like, let's hurry this up. And the whole time she sat by this man's bedside and was really like tending to him while people were secretly trying to murder him so that they could start this war. And so I do like that you pointed that out. I would like to know more about Aemma. Who is Aemma, and why is Daemon thinking about having sex with her?
That's Aemma, Aaron / Aemma Targaryen. That's Rhaenyra's mom. That's Viserys' first wife. And I'm just thinking it's just like the things that was coming out of her mouth. Everything she was saying was like, "You're better if you were the firstborn." It's just him wanting Viserys' life. That's all it is.
Do you think he had feelings for his Viserys' wife, like Rhaenyra's mom?
I don't think so. No, like the Targaryen king's history is littered with a lot of like second sons coveting the wife of the first son, and even a few where they think like the kids were fathered by the second son and stuff like that. But like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think Aemma and Viserys, from all aspects, from what we understand, had a very loving marriage. And Daemon never loved the idea of marriage. Honestly, it's still a thing where Rhaenyra said, like, Daemon can never love anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never loved his first wife, the bronze bitch, Rhea Royce. The closest a lot of people think is Lena. Like, they think he actually married her for love. She did give him status as well, but a lot of people felt that was a love match because they basically just ran off and got married. They didn't ask for permission and stuff like that. And it's still up for debate if, you know, him and Rhaenyra were a love match, or if it was more of a political pact type thing, you know, a joining of their strengths for both their claims. So Daemon is never like he's never seen to have a fondness for women. He likes women. He's married to women. He likes women, but he does not have a fondness for them. You know what I'm saying? Like so I don't think he was in love with Aemma. It's literally them saying he wanted to be Viserys. He wanted to be in Viserys' shoes. He wanted, just like Aemon says several times, like, if it was my duty, I would have married Helena. I would do all of this, you know. And there's even the rumor that speaking of Aemon and Helena, that, you know, those kids were Aemon's kids, that maybe Aemon and Helena were hooking up since Aegon was never in his bed. Like, there's so many tales of that in the Targaryen lineage, but I just don't think that's here with Daemon. I think this flashback is just saying he wanted to be Viserys. He wanted to be in his shoes.
Yeah. What do you think about Helena? The way the show was depicted her, not about the book. This is a depart. Like, I know we're in the book corner, but we got one scene from her in where she basically says, "Aemon, I know what you did. Was it worth it?" And that was it.
Which I kind of love, because honestly, like, I know we got a question about this in the books at this point. Once Jaehaerys dies, she's just crying in a corner for the rest of the book. Like, she's literally just in her room, shut up, going mad, going crazy, refusing to eat. Like, she's not a part of the story anymore. She's just consumed by madness and grief. So, like, I know we got a question about, like, oh, they expounded her character, but then they're not doing anything with it. But I think they're doing just enough. I love that she's just like, really, dog, really, you know, like, I don't know.
See, I liked your version better, though. I like when you talked about the books where we get to see her grieve and how it kind of tears her apart. But like, I feel like the show gives us like almost like she's above it, because I think you said she's like a seer, right? Or
a seer,
Yeah, so it's like,
yeah,
she's not bothered by the worldly stuff. She's kind of just like, you know, kind of observing all of this as opposed to being a part of it.
And unfortunately, you remember who else was like that? I think they're sticking with the Game of Thrones lore. Bran. That's how Bran was. Once you're a seer, once you can see into the future, once you are opened up to another level, all of this is below you. And I think that's where they're going with her character. And you're right, like there's two different ways, you know. If I would love to see the grief from her, but honestly, we've seen it. Like I think I've said it before, like we've seen grieving like that before. So I don't think it's really necessary.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're gonna have Helena, this is how I would want to have her.
Okay. So Helena gonna sit on the Iron Throne eventually, like Bran.
Oh God, no.
Anything but that. Okay. Tell me about Baela and Rhaena and what they have going on in the books at this point.
Yeah, fine. So Baela and Rhaena in the books are still young, and they have more of a bigger part after the dance is over. So now, we talked about this before, the show is expanding their parts. So giving Baela the all of these scenes with her and Corlys, her and Rhaenyra, I love it because it's showing like her character on the other side of the dance. She is a dragon rider through and through. She is fearless. She is just like her mom. She's known for wearing like the breeches, like the dragon rider leathers. She's like on it. She's about it. You know what I'm saying? So this characterization of her is perfection. And it's like, I love that she's really getting in the mix because these scenes aren't in the book. But I just love that. And Rhaena, this is true to the book. She's in the Vale. She basically stays in the safety of the Vale the whole of the dance. I loved her sparring here almost with her and Lady Arryn. So that they're going back and forth about quibbling about dragon, we kept our side, you know, girl, come on, keep your side type thing. And them sparring, but then at the end just being like, yeah, you know, like them like the mutual respect there, you know, the both of them I think showed to them. And so I loved seeing Rhaena because we saw Rhaenyra say, Rhaena, it's up to you to remind Lady Jane of her promise, you know. And it's just a pretty cool echo of everything we see throughout the episode. We saw so many people treating with so many other families. We got to see Rhaena treating with Lady Jane Arryn. We got to see Jace treating with the Freys. We got to see Daemon with the Brackens. Like we got to see a lot of the I really had to stop and think like, man, is this the first time we've seen the full twins, like the full crossing at the twins, the outside? Is this like we saw the full veil too? We saw the full veil.
I think this. I agree. I think this is the first time I'd ever seen that because all I could think was I hate Walder Frey so much, and he had like this cool ass like this whole setup, and I liked it a lot.
Exactly. So, Baela and Rhaena, them just incorporating them more and earlier is just, I love it. I truly do.
Yeah. Cool.
Deviation or not, like this is the parts where I'm saying like they're stretching in a sense, but I don't mind because this is the characterization I can take. Like smaller characters getting more characterization. I'll take all of that. Jace treating with the Freys, speaking of which, that didn't happen in the books. So
yeah. My last question about the book club, and then you can just go on whatever other rant you need. Hugh the Hammer, why is he in this episode?
Well, so again, big spoilers. Hugh is here. One, he's doing a really great job of letting us know like what's going on with the small folk.
Yeah, he's like the man on the street. We get the perspective from him about like all the horrors of like what it looks like to live in King's Landing these days.
Exactly. But you see what color his hair is, right?
Blonde? I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's white.
Yeah.
It's so Yeah, so Hugh is gonna play a big part, I'm assuming, in next week's episode. He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be one of those who tries to claim a dragon because he's in dire straits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm loving the small folk scenes that we're getting. I
Me
do.
too.
I feel like it was something we didn't get as much of in Game of Thrones. But something
Yeah.
that's really working here in House of the Dragon.
In Game of Thrones, it felt like they were all living off propaganda, right? Like they love Joffrey, they love Cersei. They didn't have no reason not to. It was like the Lannisters like kept like a tight ship to where, you know, like the people, the small folks was like, yeah, this is the kingdom. What are you talking about? This is my, you know, even when we see like in the first couple episodes when Sansa meets Joffrey, she's like, that's my prince. I'm gonna marry him one day. That's the goal, you know. Whereas when we see them, we're like, these people are crazy, and Joffrey kind of nuts, you know. But I think a lot of them didn't realize it until later on that Cersei and them were out of whack. And then we were it's like slowly seeping into the community. You know, we even see her do her walk of atonement and stuff like that, and try to like clean up her image again. Because at that point it was so down bad. They're like, you're a sinner. You need to fix it. But here it feels like, no, we get almost the perspective between the White Worm and just the small folk. We constantly get the updates on kind of what the gossip is, you know, like how are we viewing the world? And when they pull the dragon through the street and you hear somebody say, I thought dragons were gods. How are you just gonna kill the gods? And if you're killing gods, why would you parade them to the street? That kind of feels kind of like disrespectful, a little blasphemous. I don't know how I feel about this, y'all. We need to get out of here. I'm not loving it. And a lot of people start reacting, and we do get that on a granular level with people like Hugh the Hammer. But a show, like you just said, Hugh will be a big part of probably a next episode. But to this point, Hugh is probably the most useless character to me because we have yet to get what his purpose is. It's like they're dragging him through. And in the way I thought they were going to drag through, like, you know, some of the other characters, like they're really making sure we know Hugh is where Hugh is in every point of this story. I wonder why he's such a big deal the way the show is depicting it. You know, like, because they're making sure we don't miss Hugh.
He's providing a lot of Easter eggs because though even his wife is like, let's go to Tumbleton. My brother's at Tumbleton. And if you're a book reader, you're probably like, oh no, don't do that. Because it's like one out of the frying pan into the fry type thing. So it's like he's providing really good like Easter eggs and stuff like that, and that perspective from the small folks and his motivations. Like it's gonna make so much sense later on. So like it's not annoying now. Like I don't think it's annoying. I think people still like it, and it's gonna pay dividends in the future, in future seasons, not even just the next episode, but like in future seasons. So I'm feeling you. I like this. We don't get this in the books. Clearly, it's a history, so it's just a major event. So when he does his big one, we'll know about that, but we don't know much about him before he does it. So
right, but we'll know why he does it because we really are sitting in all of these moments with him and kind of seeing that the walls are caving in, you know.
Yeah, the desperation is at an all-time high. His child is sick. We don't know what his child has. Do we? Right, we don't.
No.
She looked a little gray, but she didn't look like grayscale or anything like that. So, like, and they're just in dire straits because, again, they're not getting any food. None of that. So,
anything else about the books?
No. Like I said, this episode they were really stretching it. They were really they were making some scenes up, but it's fine. You know, it's all good. Something tells me next week it's gonna be really, really juicy. It's gonna be really good. We're gonna be really entertained, and you know, maybe I'll have some really good book stuff there. Just depending.
Maybe. You would ask me to remind you about the Morning of the Dragons early on, how like in the book something might be different with the way, I guess maybe it was with our question that we had about how the dragons interact with each other. And you know, we saw Sea Smoke. I think his name was Mourning the loss of his mama dragon. Is there any more insight you have into the books about the dragons and you know, with the way the dragons are affected by the loss of other dragons?
Yeah, again, they're more affected by the loss of their riders than anything. the speculation that Sea Smoke is now restless because maybe Laenor is actually dead now. He has to be dead if another writer is going to claim him and stuff like that. That's what we get. It's more like the bond between the writers and the dragons themselves. Like I said, there is, if you want to know more, you can Google like the dragon family trees. They really do have whole family trees for all of these dragons. But to be quite honest, like, we don't get it that much. And I'm glad we got the little that we did with like Cyrex and Arax,
Yeah.
Because all of the dragons that belong to Rhaenyra's kids are from eggs from her dragon.
Gotcha. I'd hate to see somebody try to mount and tame Sea Smoke and Laenor is not dead and we just don't know it, because I feel like that could be catastrophic. Pulling up on Sea Smoke, like, he's obviously sad because Laenor is dead and Laenor is still off, gallivanting with his little boo thing.
For me, I don't like, I hope they don't. Some people are mad. Some people think like maybe they'll show us Laenor dying or something like that, and then so it'll make sense when somebody like claims Sea Smoke. But like they don't need to do any of this. Laenor's gone. Laenor gave Sea Smoke up. Like Sea Smoke should be free to detach and bond with somebody else. Like, I don't know. I don't want to see like a quickly, hastily put together Laenor death scene just to justify Sea Smoke, bonding with somebody else.
See, and I don't like the idea that if we don't see the death scene, then like we just imagine that he's, because to me it feels kind of reckless to be like, he probably dead, so let's see if somebody can ride the dragon. Because I already told you, my biggest fear is I walk up to the dragon and the dragon's like, boy, get the hell out of here, and just like kills me. But if Laenor, and if Laenor is alive, it's definitely going to happen, because somebody going to walk up on Sea Smoke and he's going to be like, I have a rider. He just went to the store and never came back, So,
cigarettes.
Yeah, he went to go get cigarettes. What are you talking about? Get away from me. My dad's coming home, I promise. And so I think that kind of be entertaining. I don't want it to happen to me, but I would like to see a scene like that. But I do think you have to show me the body, or the whole time I'm be like, but he's not even dead. But he's not even dead. But he's not even dead. Like, somebody got to tell me that Laenor is dead before I can move on with Sea Smoke.
Or they get around it a different way.
Yeah, could be. But anything else?
Nope. That is it.
Yes, and that wraps up our book corner. So thank you all for being with us for this lengthy conversation about this episode. I kind of like this one. So I had a lot of questions to ask Mari, to bug her about this time, but it was fun. And we enjoyed seeing y'all's questions as well. So make sure you keep that feedback coming, and make sure you stay tuned into the conversation moving forward, because we got a little bit of Hot D coming up for this season, but we got a lot of Recap Kickback coming up. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you tune in next time. Mari, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods?
Over on Crime Scene, me and Sarah Carradine bring you true crime Tuesdays over on robotspodcast.com. Chappell, you joined us to talk about The Man with 1,000 Kids.
Yeah, that was crazy, y'all.
Yeah,
it's on Netflix. It was the #1 movie on Netflix at the time, or documentary on Netflix. It's 3 parts, 3 episodes, and I got a real good hate into somebody I didn't even know existed, and I did a lot of yelling on that podcast, but it was so fun to talk about it with Mari and Sarah.
We all did a lot of yelling, so definitely go check that out. You can go to robhourswebsite.com/crime-feed, or just type in Crime Scene, that's Crime SEEN, into wherever you get your podcast. Like I said, I did a book club, a Hot D book club. So if you want more House of the Dragon coverage, if you want more like in-depth spoilers, you can go to We Know Scripted TV's YouTube page, or weknowscriptedtv.com, in order to listen to me, Taryn, and Grace over there. But other than that, just getting ready for Big Brother season. So you can follow me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2 like the number 2. Listen, I'll just be retweeting House of the Dragon memes, funny House of the Dragon tweets, and stuff about Big Brother at this point. So follow me.
All right.
If you want any
follow
of that.
Mari. Follow
Mhm.
Mari. She's a good follow.
Mhm.
And then, of course, follow at Recap Kickback on all social media platforms. Stay tuned to what I have coming your way. In a couple of weeks, we'll have Camille on the podcast back to talk about the 40th anniversary of the movie Purple Rain. And so that will
Wow.
be, yeah. And so we're going to have a good time
Wow.
talking about that with Camille. Yeah, 40 years
Yeah,
of
40
Purple
years.
Rain. Yeah, as of July 27th, I believe, of this year. So yeah, tune in for that and much more. We're gonna bring you a lot more content here. So make sure you stay tuned and make sure you follow and subscribe to keep all the updates. But until next time, you ain't gotta go home, but we will catch you all later to talk more House of the Dragon right here on Recap Kickback. Peace.